And welcome back to the show. The Metropolitan New York Synod is the regional division of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America and encompasses 190 parishes in all 5 boroughs of New York City. MNYS is celebrating each of the women leaders in coincidence with their 50-40-10 anniversary, in acknowledgement of 3 important milestones the Synod has overcome, including 50 years of female leadership in the U.S. Lutheran churches, 40 years of biopic female leadership, and 10 plus years of LGBTQIA and female leadership. Joining me now to share a little bit more on the details of this matter, I'm joined by the pastor of the Church of the Abiding Presence and member of the MNYS Council and the Metro New York African Descent Lutheran Association, the Reverend Jeanine Owens. And thank you so much for being with us, Reverend Owens.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you. And a very important milestone, as we talked about, for the group. And so share with us a little bit about this milestone.
Yes, well, 50 years of female leadership in our nation of the Lutheran Church, ELCA, and 40 years of Black and Brown female leadership within the Metro New York Synod, and 10 years for the LGBTQIA female leadership as well. We stay connected to the communities that have not had their voices heard, and we are keeping in alignment with the societal trends. And this is the beauty of Metro New York Synod. We address the diverse needs of all our communities.
When we talk about the work that you're doing, much of that work is centered on inclusivity. And what's that been like, the fight for inclusivity? Give me a little.
You know, as being a woman and a woman leader of Metro New York Synod, it has been a joyful, and also it can be challenging. You know, we have to deal with some of the issues of women not having a voice. And this is what Metro New York Synod does. It is an advocate for having all voices heard, especially during times such as this, in this pandemic, in COVID-19, and everything that has been going on in our world and in our communities.
You have a group called the Anti-Racism Committee that's really dealing with this topic indeed. And when we look at what's happening right now, whether it's Charlotte, North Carolina, whether it's Minneapolis, whether it's Atlanta, Georgia, there's racism, there's bigotry, there's hatred. Talk to me about the work of your Anti-Racism Committee.
Well, the Anti-Racism Committee has been very instrumental in implementing strategies to train our congregations and our leaders. And that was started back in 2016. There was a training to 80 plus congregations in Metro New York Synod. And out of that anti-racism, there are other groups such as the Black Pastors Group of Metro New York Synod, who is currently at this present moment in conversation with our Bishop, Bishop Paul Eggensteiner, who has made anti-racism an important strategy for the church. And out of that, we've talked about equipping our church with mental health, community health, and partnership with other agencies that can help us to move past this terrible time that we're finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel for the vaccinations and things of that sort. But, we are trying to, as the Black Equity Table, trying to focus on programs for young adults. We're trying to focus on supporting adult literacy programs and talking about many of the training programs, installing training programs for the youth in our communities, specifically in the community that I serve in, which is the Soundview community.
I want you to take a few moments and talk about your advocacy that goes on with regards to rights for gay and lesbian people. We know that there has been this ongoing push for equality, and at the same time, there's been a whole lot of pushback, resistance, and even we can say hate crimes that have been targeted against gays, lesbians. But give us a little bit of the work that you're trying to do in terms of reaching the gay and lesbian population.
Well, right now, I can only speak of the work that's being done by the advocacy team that we have as part of Bishop Eggensteiner's 2025 vision. We do have many constituents who are working to be advocates as far as the migrant children, which is the Amparo program that we are trying to place and find homes for children that have been misplaced by the violence that they're experiencing in their countries, coming without parents. And some of them have been, some of those children have been separated from their parents and have come to this country not having any type of knowledge of our language and nowhere to go. So I know that Mr. Christopher Varega, who is the lead person in the advocacy committee, is working hard to speak for such issues of people who don't have a voice, and people who are finding their voice and are speaking out and giving our Senate a wider look at the work that's being done by that community, the LGBTQIA community.
And also, when you talk about being an advocate, I know that you also do work with domestic violence and the Domestic Violence Awareness Task Force. How are they working, and what does that consist of?
Well, that Domestic Violence Task Force looks to be a resource for those who are experiencing any violence in the home, women and also men. And they're working together with them as a resource so that people, when they are experiencing any type of violence or any type of situation that is uncomfortable, giving them the resources that they need to use to be able to get out of that situation, to be able to find a way beyond that and not have to stay in that environment. So our Senate is looking for ways to help those to find a better way and a better life outside of the violence of their homes.
Oh, beautiful. And so for people who want to find out more information about the Synod, what do they do?
Well, you can go to our website at MNYS.org. And there you will see everything that we're involved in and our stand on the various issues that we are facing today as a community and as a world.
What is it like to be a part of an organization that does that is actually connected to many of the issues? You have immigration, domestic violence, gay and lesbian rights, and to be connected to a group that has a voice and is making their voice well known.
It has helped me to develop my own voice. Mm-hmm. As a woman, and as someone who not always, I mean, being a pastor, I wasn't always front and center. But as time goes on and as you deal with the people and you minister to people, all those experiences form you, and they form who you are. Speaking for the people, you are an advocate for the people, and whatever situation they may be in, you're ministering to those people and trying to give them the necessary resources that will help them to build themselves up and to build their family up and their communities.
And so having a voice, and you being a voice right now, talk about the work that you're doing as pastor and the congregation that you represent.
Abiding Presence is a mission church, and Abiding Presence has a food pantry, but out of that food pantry derived a program called Soup for the Soul. And for the second and fourth Wednesday of the month, we have Soup for the Soul. And we had that prior to COVID. We had a lot of immigrants who come and partake in a nice lunch at 12 noon, and they talk, they get to know one another. They talk about their situations and how they're looking to become permanent residents. And we also have those who do speak English because, yes, that is an issue. They translate for us, and we fellowship with them, and we give them a place to come twice a month to have a good lunch, a good hot soup lunch.
And so being a part of the community and being connected to the community, I know that's a huge thing for you, being able to meet the needs of people. It's a part of your history. It's part of the history that we talked about before with the 50 and the 40. So share with us a little bit about that, the history itself, and what that means to you.
Well, the history of the church really began to include diversity, to include diverse people. It started out with a German monk who felt that his voice should be heard about the reform of the Roman Catholic Church. We have his example of when there is a specific need that people always rise up, and people rise up to meet those needs. The church is a place where people can come to be ministered to feel that they belong, to feel that they have a voice, that they can share all their experiences, that they can grow, and that their families can grow, that they will have opportunities that they may not have, opportunities that they might not have. And these are the things that we advocate for, so that people can have opportunities to be trained, to be leaders in the church, so that those same leaders can go out into the world and become advocates for other people, that they can go out into the world, they can make a living and build up their families, so that we can all enjoy our country's, the fruits of our labors.
Reverend Jeanine Owens, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Social Justice Forums, an opportunity to hear about some of the great work that's going on. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dan.
Reverend Jeanine Owens, thank you again. Want to let you know that we're glad to have you here sharing with us about the work of the Synod.